qualifications on welfare programs?
Okay, that's a great question. Welfare abuse, first of all, the thing that comes to my mind, first of all, is illegal immigrants getting welfare. We could stop that by actually enforcing, actually using E-Verify. Beyond that, to stop welfare abuse, we would have to do it legislatively. So we have to fight with our friends, the Democrats. But I think we could have common ground, coming back to where I started, with the enforcement of E-Verify so that we don't have illegal immigrants mooching off of hardworking middle-class Americans.
Major problem. We have an over $1 trillion welfare state, and unfortunately most people that are receiving one layer of welfare are generally receiving half a dozen or more other layers of welfare, whether that be a tax, whether that be EBT, food stamps, any number of other things that puts them well above the threshold of what they should be receiving. And probably the biggest thing that bothers most of us is the able-bodied that are out there, and I'm going to tell you just how serious this problem is. The fact of the matter is, I've been back to work with 3 federal agencies since I left the military and served with a foreign military. I could go down tomorrow to the Social Security Administration, tell them that, and they would start cutting me a check tomorrow for Social Security disability. That is the depth of this problem that I've proven. I can go to work every single day, and they would still start cutting me a check, and that's the kind of thing that we have to fight against.
Yeah, one half of welfare reform has to be that welfare has to be a true safety net. It has to be a way of helping people who are down on their luck or who have had a tough time or are in difficult circumstances get back on their feet so they can build a better life for themselves. We need to be shortening and we need to be limiting welfare as best as we can so it's a temporary, transitional type of benefit. The second thing, though, is that we can encourage people to stop abusing welfare by driving the engine of this economy so that it pays to work. Right now, one of the challenges is for so many people, it barely pays to work. They can sit at home and they can get a welfare check and they're just about as good. Let's drive the engine of the economy. Let's cut people's taxes and let's make sure people have an incentive to get off the couch and to go do the things that they can to build the best life possible for their family.
Every politician says we're going to reduce abuse in welfare and Medicaid. We'll do that, but they find more ways to abuse it. The problem with welfare is it becomes a cycle of dependency. People look to the government for everything. I am equally concerned, though, about corporate welfare. I'm concerned about the Solyndra that got a lot of our money, about the digital domain that got a lot of our money. And I was the only one to fight digital domain, and yesterday we went up to the building of a $40 million building empty, because no one else wanted to look at the balance sheet. No one else wanted to look at an income statement. No one else wanted to look at the RFQ. If you don't have people up there that have the knowledge, the analytical ability, you're not going to stop any of these things.
There's one thing, and I've talked to a lot of business people that I'm very concerned about when it comes to this subject, in that we've raised a generation of kids that don't know that life is work. And that you need to have to work because there are a lot of openings out there in businesses that pay good salaries. And I've talk to people, and the younger people come in and they don't want to do the job because they find out how hard it is and how hard they will have to work to do it. So that's one thing I think we need to address, is start teaching our kids once again that life is work and we're all going to have to work hard.
Next question. What type of immigration policy do you support? Specifically, what are your views on illegal immigration, and what steps, such as building a wall or deporting, would you take to solve the problem?
I think when you start the conversation of illegal immigration, you have to start at an ideological standpoint and understand that it is the right of Americans to be protected from any and all dangers out there. It is not the right of somebody that is not an American to breach our sovereignty and come into our country. And after that, you recognize that extensive reform is not necessarily needed. What we need is enforcement of the current laws that are in place. We do need some physical barriers out there to stop immigration. Sorry, not not to talk over you, but we only got a few seconds to stop some of that, what's going on in the porous southern border. But that's not the only place. Realize that Canada just recently accepted 20,000 Syrian refugees. Now, if we're worried about Syrian refugees being let into the United States of America, understand that they can go across the breadth of the Canadian-American border now to get within the United States of America. So this is a broad-reaching problem. We have to enforce current immigration laws. We have to make sure that we get a system of E-Verify put into place into all 50 states so people can't find employment without being, having the opportunity, without the place that they're supposed to be gainfully employed. Thank you.
The immigration problem is not just an immigration problem, it's a national security problem. It's got to be the top priority that we have right now. We cannot let people's first act in this country be an act of lawlessness. Step one, close the border. Ted Cruz proposed it, and I believe it. We can triple the number of troops along the southern border. We can do that immediately. Everything that comes next has to be secondary to closing the border. It is crushing us. It's having an economic impact. It's having a national security impact, and it's something that we can get in check. We've got to end sanctuary cities. It's a travesty that any such concept exists in this country, and we can do it.
We do not have an immigration problem, we have an illegal immigration problem. Immigration is the strength. I dare say every one of you are born from immigrants. And therefore I was a little surprised when Donald Trump suggested, and I agree, that we should not allow Syrians to come in until they were properly vetted, that others disagreed on that. No one's saying they shouldn't be allowed to come in. What we are saying is they don't have identification. Why would you let them in? We need to close the border. We need to have work permits for seasonal needs, and we need to deport anyone that engages in criminal activity.
We are a welcoming country. We always have been a welcoming country. But I know that on the base of the Statue of Liberty, it says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be breathed free." And we need to make sure that everyone coming into this country wants to be free, wants to follow our laws, and wants to contribute to our country and be a productive citizen. We definitely need to, as everybody has said, we need to seal our borders and make sure we have laws in place to make sure that people are legal, and we need to follow those laws.
A country without borders is not a country. So we need to do three things. We need to enforce E-Verify. We need to end the sanctuary cities. We do need to build a wall on our southern border. We have radical Islamics in our country who are combining together, and they are probably looking to commit terrorism in our country.